Was the Apollo program a hoax? Or did the American astronauts get to the moon? I have been researching the photos and video of the Apollo 11 program. And I have seen other similar images from the other Apollo missions. My conclusion is that the Apollo program was successful. The American astronauts did make it to the moon. I have always admired NASA for its great achievements, as well as the recent achievements of SpaceX, Blue Origins, and space missions from China, India, and other nations. Every day we get closer to living in outer space. However, I have also discovered that there is a big lie about Apollo 11. My conclusion is that Apollo 11 did not land on the moon. We were deceived and all mankind was led to believe it. And I have indicated that another Apollo mission, not Apollo 11, went to the moon and subsequently installed all the equipment that Apollo 11 failed to install. These findings, which have a scientific basis, put me in a middle ground between two extremes, where neither wants to listen to me. On one side are those who believe that NASA never made it to the moon. They expect me to say that it was all a hoax. When I try to contact them, they send me information about conspiracy theories, saying that everything is false, that aliens are demons in disguise, or that the Earth is flat. This group does not have the scientific rigor to analyze the evidence and they just follow everything that appears on the internet. And they are not dedicated to looking at reality, nature, or genuinely searching for the truth. Therefore, they are not interested in analyzing my calculations and conclusions about Apollo 11, since I am also saying that the Apollo missions, excluding Apollo 11, were all very successful. On the other side, are those with high scientific rigor, who I understand are tired of hearing so many conspiracy theories in this society intoxicated with misinformation, that they go to the other extreme. And do not want to know anything that rejects their already established beliefs. When I try to contact them, they immediately reject me and label me as a moon hoaxer. That is, someone who does not believe that humans have made it to the moon. These skeptics do not analyze my calculations, my analyses, or my conclusions that have a scientific basis. They don't want to see them. I do not consider myself a moon hoaxer, but a truth seeker. In my quest to find the truth, I have discovered that the pictures we see of Apollo 11 could not have been taken by the Apollo 11 astronauts. I mean, the astronauts did not set foot on lunar soil, in the Sea of Tranquility, but the equipment was taken later by other astronauts from another Apollo mission. You can find the link to my research in the description of this video, where I show several types of analysis that demonstrate this fact. I have published version 2 of the research, where I analyzed 10 NASA photographs, supposedly taken during the Apollo 11 mission. And with 3 different methods, I verify the height of the Sun, which shows that it was between 20 to 21 degrees elevation, when it should have been between 14 and 15 degrees. About 6 degrees difference may seem very little to some people. But on the moon, where the sun is practically static, moving very slowly, this difference of 6 degrees is equivalent to an 11-hour difference. That means that the Apollo 11 astronauts must have taken the pictures when they were already returning from the moon, not when they were there. And that also means that when I saw Armstrong step on the lunar soil, around midnight, on July 20, 1969, with my parents and my siblings, it must have been 11 hours later. That is, at noon the next day when I was taking classes at my school. But that was not the case. The Apollo 11 astronauts supposedly landed in the Sea of Tranquility. A few hours later, after getting ready, and putting on their spacesuits, depressurizing the cabin, then exiting the lunar module, the sun was already at an elevation above the lunar horizon of 14.2 degrees. For a couple of hours, they installed the US flag and various equipment on the lunar floor. When they returned to the spacecraft cabin, the sun was at 15.2 degrees elevation. In 2 hours the sun moved only 1 degree. So the pictures we see when they were setting up the equipment should show an elevation of the sun between 14 to 15 degrees. But in reality, they are between 20 to 21 degrees. Upon entering the lunar module, they refilled the cabin with oxygen, took off their spacesuits, and slept for 5 hours. They lifted off from the moon 11 hours after entering. At that time of liftoff, the sun was at about 21 degrees elevation, but they had not been outside taking pictures for 11 hours. So the Apollo 11 photos that we see in the NASA records were not taken by Armstrong and Aldrin. I want to show just one example of one of the photos, but you can find more examples in my research. This is the photo, AS11-40-5936. It was taken by Aldrin. The sun at this instant should be at 14.9 degrees elevation. The Apollo 11 astronauts used the Hasselblad 500 EL camera, which was mounted on their chest in the spacesuit. This means they did not have to hold it in their hands, and it gave them greater maneuverability. This camera was equipped with a reticle system showing several marks in the form of a plus sign. The separation between each mark, according to NASA, was 10.3 degrees. They were used to measure angles in the photos. Now, in this photo, we see several sun rays, which when projected, indicate that the sun was above the field of view. Using the 10.3 degree separation between the marks, we can calculate that the sun was at 20.2 degrees elevation, not 14.9 degrees. Why it is so high? If the sun had been at 14.9 degrees, as it should have been, it would be within the field of view of the photos, and this photo would be veiled or overexposed. But it is not. All the Apollo 11 photos that I analyzed with different methods tell me the same thing. The sun is very high, at about 20 to 21 degrees elevation. So, if the Apollo 11 astronauts did not take the photos during the Apollo 11 mission, who are the astronauts we see there? They are in the same place, in the Sea of Tranquility, but at another moment in time. Not during Apollo 11 mission. Which mission do you think installed this equipment? In my research, I say what I think might have been the most likely Apollo mission that did it. I invite you to take a closer look at the scientific evidence, and stop believing in conspiracy theories, or to be skeptical and close your eyes to the evidence, and see reality for what it is.